Following up on the vase we modeled in the last video, I wanted to showcase it in a more visually appealing way, and I hope and think this render achieves that. Going back to the default cube, here's how I made it, along with some tips on how to make the process a bit quicker and easier. I have a new save file. First I'm going to delete the light, delete the camera with X, right click here, join areas, so I have a bit more space. With Shift A, I'm going to add a camera, grab with G, X, 2.5 meters, so it's 2.5 meters away. I see that the rotation here is changed, so I'm going to press Alt plus R, Alt R at the same time. And now let's see, I'm going to put this to 90 and this to 90 as well, so it looks forward. If you want to see what the camera sees, I'm going to press this and we are looking at the cube, so with the N, I'm going to bring up this panel and put it right up, maybe 1.5 should be okay. And I'm also going to rotate it and make it a bit squarer. So I'm going to make it 1600 and 1200. So now it's a bit squarer. I'm also going to maybe increase this focal length, let's say to 70 to 65. Now I'm going to import the vase here, so I'm going to go to plasticity, or you could import whatever vase you modeled, and in this panel, export save. On the desktop, I'm going to name it vase and choose the format waveform obj, save, and now we have these options. So I tested a few variants here, and I wanted to have relatively a high amount of geometry, so all the details are preserved, because in a little experiment, for example, this one has only 6200 vertices, but you see that especially here you see the corners, so depends on what you want to do and the context of the project. You could go lower, but just in case, so all the curvatures are nice, I made it a bit higher, so I'm going to press OK, and now we should have a file here. So going back to Blender, File, Import, OBJ, on the desktop, I have it here. I'm going to change the up axis to Z so I don't have to change it later, and press Import. So grab Z 1 meter, R Z 90 minus, so minus 90, so maybe RZ, let's put it minus 10 here, so it doesn't go perfectly in diagonal. Now I need some branches to make it look nice, and for the branches, I'm using Blender Kit. It has a lot of free models, and it just makes it a bit quicker, and it's also free, so you just need to download it, and you have all the instructions on how to use it here. Once you have it installed, you will have this bar here. I'm going to press branches, and I'm going to use this one. So I'm going to grab and drop it around here. I used to think that this is kind of cheating, but you know, it's like if you want to cook chicken, you don't need to raise the chicken. You can go to the supermarket and buy it, so it's going to be a lot quicker and easier. So I'm going to need to grab Y, move it about there, grab Z, move it up. Okay, maybe I will rotate it 180, grab Y, move it a bit here so it's closer to the center. Okay, this looks alright. Move it down, because you see that the vase has more volume on the left side, so to compensate I rotated it. Now I'm going to need a wall on the back, so Shift A, Mesh, Plane. Let's see what it is. Grab, rotate Y 90, grab Z 1.5 meter. Let's see. Go back to the camera. Grab. I'm going to move it a bit back. So there is some separation between the vase and the wall on the back. I also want to make the table a bit shorter on the back side so there is more room. So with face selection, I'm going to grab X and move it forward. Let's say 0.5 should be okay for now. And let's go to the materials and see to the materials and lights. So I'm going to viewport shading first, and in object mode select the vase, create a new material. I'm going to name it vase, and I'm going to make it completely white, full metallic because it's steel, and roughness I'm going to put it at 0.05, so it's basically a mirror finish, or maybe even 0. For the table and for the background, I was thinking to use some sort of dark materials to add a bit of elegance to it, so I'm going to switch to this panel, find materials. I'm going to search for black marble, and I think it's this one. So just drag it on top of the object that you want, and it's going to apply directly. And for the wall, I'm going to search for rough wall paint. Let's see if I can find it. So this one, because I wanted to also have add some texture to it, so it's not really boring, let's say. And if we go to the render view, you see that it's very dark because we don't have any light here. So I'm going to use an HDRI first, so it looks nice given that it's a very reflective material. To do that, I'm just going to go to this panel here, and in the color, select environment texture, and we have this effect because we don't have any texture. For the HDRI, I went to polyhaven.com and I downloaded this one, so I have it on the desktop here. And let's go back to Blender, open in the desktop, open image. So now we have this, and I don't want it in the background, I only want it for the reflections. So I'm going to the render tab here, switch to cycles, switch to GPU if you have a GPU on your computer. For the viewport, I'm going to reduce this to 20 because we don't need it. So this way it makes it easier when you move around. It doesn't have to calculate that much. For the renders, I think something 256 should be okay. And now if we go back to the world, you see that I have ray visibility. So I'm going to uncheck the camera ray visibility, and now it's going to only show on the objects. Now I want to rotate this a bit because it's kind of ugly. And to do that, you go to the shading tab, from object switch to world, and we need to add some mapping and texture coordinate node. I did that with Ctrl T. If that doesn't work, you need to enable in preferences add-ons node wrangler. Once you check that, you will be able to select this and press Ctrl T, and you will have a mapping and texture nodes connected. So let's go back to the camera and back to what we see, and let's rotate it a bit. Oh, not the location, sorry. Let's rotate it maybe something here, so it's a bit whiter. Let's say minus 135 should be okay. Now, when you select an HDRI, it's important, for example, in this kind of object, since it's steel material or very polished material, you don't want one that casts darker areas, because then you will make this object look darker and it is not following the real object that you are trying to represent. So choose one that helps you with that. Now that we have this, I'm going to make the world a bit less intense, so I'm going to put it 0.3, should be fine. Let's go back to layout. And I'm going to add a couple of lights to make it a bit better. Shift A, light, spot, grab Z, let's see what is this, rotate Y, 90, rotate Z, and I'm going to put it somewhere around here. Let's see what we have. So going back to the camera first, this is huge, so I'm going to scale it a bit down. So in the light settings, let's see what we have here. I'm going to make it 750 in power. Make the blend all the way up so it's softer, and make this 55, something along the lines of 55 should be right. And the radius, I'm going to put it at 0.7, so you see that the shadows are very defined, and that's going to get fixed with bigger radius, something like that. I'm going to disable multiple importance so it doesn't show here like a perfect circle. It's only going to be slightly visible, which is much better, I think. And I'm also going to put another one, because if you look very closely, you see that this part is quite dark now, and I'm going to put another one on the other side to help light a bit those details. So it's going to be a very subtle one, but still we will need it. Now you see that it's kind of hard to move around and see what we are doing in the render view mode. So what I'm going to do is, from this side, you see now that it switches to the 4 little arrows, I'm going to make another panel here and go to the camera and make this one the render view. And now on the other side, we could even use this one, so we see what we do even if it's very dark, and we also can keep an eye on the end result. So Shift D to duplicate that one, and from the top I'm going to put it somewhere around here. Something like this. Now for this one, I don't want it to be as powerful, so I'm going to make it just 50 and change the radius to 0.3. See that the bigger the radius, the darker the area there. The cone, let's say 40. Alright, maybe move it down a bit. Okay, I think here should be okay. Okay, so let's see what we have on this side. If you want to hide all the lines and stuff, you could easily do that with show overlays, and now we have a cleaner look there. I'm going to save it just in case. I'm going to adjust this table a bit so it's the line on behind cuts a bit further in the front to make it 1 meter. And now it shows here, so I'm going to move it a bit on the x-axis. Let's say 0.1 should be okay. And you also see here that it's not having a shadow on this side. That's because the light is here and it doesn't have any obstacle here. So I'm going to just come here with face select, grab Y and move it 2 meters, for example. And now you will have a shadow there. Other little adjustments, let's select this and move it a bit up so it takes a bit more room. And I want the the top area to be a bit darker, so I'm going to add another plane with Shift A, grab Z, I'm going to go to materials, new material, I'm going to make it black, and we need to make it go past the wall. Let's rotate it on the y-axis just a bit. And if it shows in render, then you could just make the wall taller. Okay, now looks very better. You see that if you scale it too much, you can see it in the render. Maybe move it up a bit, scale the wall. Now you see that the drawing on the wall also changed the size. So if I go with tab in edit mode, I'm going to U, Smart UV project, okay. And if you go to UV editing, if we select this, see that now we make the drawing on the wall smaller or larger, depending on how we do with the unwrap. I guess something like this should look okay. Alright, go back to layout. So now we have the wall, we have the vase, we have almost everything. Let's go to the render tab. Under the bottom of the list, you see color management. I'm going to put this look to high contrast. Maybe increase the exposure a bit to 0.1. And let's see what else can we do. Maybe this part here is a bit dark. So I was thinking we could add Shift A, plane, rotate X 90, grab Z, move it up, grab Y, move it on here, scale Z, make it taller. So now this reflects in the picture and it's much more shiny there. Let's scale it on the x-axis to 0.5. And now it just depends on where you want that reflection to be in the picture. I guess somewhere around here should be fine. Maybe we could make the HDRI a bit less. 25 should be okay. If you take a look here, you see the table ending on this side as well. So I'm going to go to edit mode with face, grab Y to make it longer. Now looks better. And to me it seems that the lights are a bit too dark here on the left side. So maybe the background we could bring it to minus 0.8. So this light maybe we could rotate Y again. So it goes a bit down. Maybe bring it a bit closer. Let's see, grab Z I think it was, yeah. This way we bring it closer and you see on the top part, we don't want to have the branches in the darkness, so that should be more or less the limit. Maybe if you go closer, you need to bring it up a bit. Something along the lines. So I'm thinking the branches maybe are not aligned, so let's move them just a bit. No, not delete, grab X, grab Y. Now in terms of composition, if you select the camera and if you have enabled the overlays, you could go to the camera panel, viewport, display, composition guides, and select the center. So you can have, for example, you can see where the center is. And I'm also going to add some depth of field, because if we leave it like this, Both the background and the plant are very much in focus, and we want to give just a bit more attention to the main object. So you could do that with depth of field. Select the vase and increase the f-stop to about 10, maybe even 15. So you see that without and with, I think it defines a bit better the overall shape. I'm going to scale just a bit up the branches. Let's see how it looks in render. So I'm going to output and make this 200% so it's a larger picture, and I think we don't need the alpha channel, the transparency, so just RGB is okay, and F12 to render. Alright, so this is the final render, and with some quick photo editing, this is how it looks. I really hope this was useful to you. If so, please leave it a like and subscribe for more. Until next time, thanks for watching, take care.